Kitchen Table Wargamers, welcome to a very brief look at some brand new Codex Drukhari and some thoughts I have about this book. It is fantastic. I got my book, I've done all the online reading that everybody else has done, had some time to tinker and play around with some possible list building. Of course, I don't have exact lists built and I won't get to play a full-on 2,000 point game for a little while still. But hopefully tomorrow you'll be able to see a Combat Patrol game with my Cult of Strife versus some Sisters of Battle. Semi-Piety in Pain. My good friend Blair is finishing painting up or working on painting up the Piety in Pain box. So we will actually do that. Piety in Pain box is a 500 point game in the near future. Anywho, in the meantime, let's take a look at some cool stuff. Now here's my intention. Everybody's been seeing Codex reviews. Everybody's been seeing in-depth things, people playing games now, some of the playtesters finally getting to reveal stuff that they've been doing. I'm not going to do that. I just want to talk about a couple things, some ideas I have, kind of highlight some of the cool stuff, and then give you some thoughts I have for list building. That's kind of it. That's my plan for today. Like I said, most of you have seen games and lists and cool tricks. So here we go. Let's talk about some stuff. Firstly, I was not 100% sold on the Homoxites or the Master Homunculus. And after having seen a few games and seeing how durable a 10-man squad of Homoxites with a Homunculus can be, I do think that if you're going to run multiple detachments with multiple groups, covens, cult, cabal, I think that should at least be one unit in there. And also you get the minus to leadership stuff. The Dark Creed are pretty interesting right now. And to be perfectly honest, that's about all I'm really interested in with the covens at the moment. Now this is of course my knee-jerk reaction to not having played any games with the list yet. I will have some lists that are coven heavy, I guess. And I do have a list that has a couple squads of racks, a big 10-man for the Homoxites to get the most out of that, and then a 5-man and a Homunculus. But that's really all I'm thinking about doing. Maybe using that patrol for an extra heavy and put a Reaper in there. The Talos and the Kronos are interesting, but they're not... they're not my favorite things, and those were my all-time favorites, the Talos for sure, with the old edition. So, anywho, there you go. There's Homunculus, there's some Homoxites to be in the future. You have an Incubi sitting right here. We all know them, we all love them. The Incubi are just amazing. Gotta love those guys. Incubi, Drazar, there's not anything new to say about him. Everybody's been talking about him. Everybody knows that you need to try to work it in. A list with Drazar. Interesting, I think almost everybody agrees he's not going to be a warlord very often. Maybe in cases of like a 500 point game, you might. But otherwise, he's probably just going to be a support HQ, running around with those Incubi squads. And I will tell you, I know a 10-man bomb of Incubi will be horrific. But I'm really, really leaning towards just running 2 5-man squads. And of course, this is all the Incubi I have. Would love to have 30 Incubi. But I'm leaning towards 2 5-man squads. They can do so much now on their own. So there's that. Lilith, right here in the middle. She's a bit of an interesting one right now. There's a lot of chit-chat on the interwebs about whether she's worth her points. I don't know, to be perfectly honest. I'm going to use her tomorrow in the Combat Patrol game. It should be a lot of fun. And I'm going to also run a Succubus. I will be running, not this one, I kit bashed this little Succubus with the glaive. And to be perfectly fair, I'm happy that I did that. I will likely use that Succubus with the, I think it's called the Dancer's Blade, Dancer's Edge. The relic one for the Master Succubus that can ignore the invuls. It's 2 damage. I mean, can put a bunch of attacks on her, him, it. This Succubus I like to think is somewhat gender neutral. Anywho, that's the way I'm going to run him. That's the way it's modeled. That's the way I'm going to use it. I think it'll be fun. And then I've got this Succubus here with a whip. Going to be a triptych whip with a blast pistol. That's just going to be hard to get away from. Oopsie daisies, went the wrong direction there. It's going to be hard to get away from either of these two succubi. And I will tell you, one of the first lists that I want to build or play is actually going to be all Witch Cult. Going to run a big, I think Patrol still, just to keep the CPs down. But it'll be a big Cult of Strife with probably with Lilith and a Master Succubus and a 10 Witch Blood Brides. And then I'm going to run Cult of the Cursed Blade with a Master Succubus and 10 Witch Blood Brides. Yeah, and I'm going to throw in 2 Reapers in that list. I'm going to have the Hellions, the Reavers. I'm thinking probably will fit in Drazar and the Incubi. Actually, I know this. 3 Venoms, 2 Raiders, and a partridge in a pear tree. Just kidding. Those things should all fit. I've done the list a couple times. I think there's a few points where I might have one too many Reavers when I start adding in the Master Succubus upgrade or the Trueborn upgrades. But it's pretty close. And I think it would just be so much fun. Just blenders everywhere on the table, and your opponent will know that they need to be dealt with, but it's not going to make them easy to deal with if you play it right. Back there, I've got a squad of 10 Blood Brides that I have set up ahead of time. I haven't gone in and painted extra over my different units because I want to be sure before I do that kind of work. But I'm going to have a Shardnet, 2 Hydra Gauntlets, and then I'm going to use the Hecatrix with the Whip. The Agonizer most likely is going to always be substituted for Morvane's. I think that's what it's called. Morvane's, I don't remember the last part of it. Whip, Agonizer, Morvane's. It's a relic that you can give to a Hecatrix, and as long as she hits with it, whatever you've attacked cannot fall back. So the tricks and games for keeping things in combat continues. I love it. I think that's going to be pretty snazzy. In the back there, you can see I've got a Hellion. Those of you that don't know, Hellions are more fun now. A little bit more durable, 2 wounds. Toughness is a little better now, and they hit hard. They've got the 2 damage attacks, which is always good. The Reavers, they're not bad. They're no slouches. They'll be, if you give the right combination of drugs, they're strength 5 now. If you run them in Obsidian Rose, strength 5 with a combat drug. There's also really cool stuff as long as you're running both Reavers and Hellions and they're within 12 inches of each other, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So there's reasons to get both of them into a list, and I will probably try to do that every single time. Just saying. Last thing on the Wyches, I just pulled out a Venom because I think the Venoms being able to take 6 people now are going to be solid. Raiders taking 11. I'm going to make sure to squeeze in as many as I can. I don't know how often I'll pay the points to have the extra Splinter Cannon, but I am going to be paying for Grizzly Trophies. That, with a little bit of Dark Creed mixed in, is pretty cool. But I've also seen where just having the Grizzly Trophies combined with Mr. Drazar or the Incubi getting their amazing fight first, or making someone else fight last, I should say, with a roll of 2d6 beating their leadership, it's pretty incredible. I've seen them shut down pretty powerful melee units with that, just by having a couple of transports nearby. So there was a lot of joking online early on saying, oh, my transports aren't going to be in melee. And that hopefully is probably true, because you don't always want transports in melee. However, they can soak Overwatch, and they're going to be given the 6-inch bubble of a -2 to leadership. And when you're trying to get them units to fight last, that's just super, super solid. And that's another reason that Dark Creed over here for the Coven is going to be fun to play with. They give an aura of -1, I think it is. And of course, the infamous now Ooga Booga Homunculus from Skari, with the ability as a Master Homunculus to take away Objective Secure and to make a unit stop doing actions. Pretty cool. I mean, it's really, really cool. So as much as I'm not like super keen on running a lot of Coven heavy stuff right away, it has a place, and it's a powerful place. So yeah, that's that. I think that's all I got to say about that. Moving over to the far right now. This is, whoopsie daisies, again, the wrong button. So this is the last couple of units I really want to talk about here. The Archon. Now this is where my opinion will probably differ than some people. The Archon is going to be awesome. Running a Master Archon, and well, I don't even know if I need to be a Master Archon to get Ancient Evil, but being able to make something fight last just because you're spooky is going to be a blast. I don't know how often I'll run him without the Gin Blade, but I might. We'll just have to see. That's going to be fun. Then here's where I have an opinion that maybe some people will think is kind of silly, but I've got my Trueborn. I've actually got 2 big 10-man blobs now of Cabalites that I put together. I went through my bucket of all these extra bodies I have that I've never used, and was reminded that I've got a couple of dudes with the Dark Lance, and I've got a couple of guys with blasters, and I've got shredders, and I've got splinter cannons. So here's what I actually want to do. What I actually would like to do is to run these guys. One of them will be with the Dark Lance, and the blasters will be Trueborn. And they will be rocking the, the 2 up to hit, put them in a raider, run them around, just hopefully wreck stuff. But as much as Cabal the Blackheart is amazing, I really, really want to playtest Poison Tongue first. And run 2 big 10-man squads of Cabalites and Raiders, or possibly even on the ground, because there's no negatives to hit. Moving, shooting, it doesn't matter. So I might even put them on the ground, having all the poison wounding on 3s. I'm going to run all of my Venoms in the Poison Tongue, so they'll all be wounding on 3s. All my Raiders will be in the Poison Tongue. And the reason for all the Raiders going in the Poison Tongue is their amazing strat for redeploying at the beginning of the game. I think that is going to be something that is going to be so powerful. And I know there's a lot of people that talk about it, and it's not a secret, but most people seem to be really leaning into Blackheart, and for good reasons. I mean, I'm going to enjoy playing it. But my heart of hearts loves how the Drukhari will look like they're going to do a thing, and then they do something totally different. Just to screw with you, just to, you've got this really cool plan. Well, all those units you were going to target just disappeared. I think the Poison Tongue strat to just delete some stuff off the board and put it into the strategic reserve could be redonkulous. So that's my thinking on that. You might notice in that top right corner, I don't want to zoom in on them a whole lot, but I'm working on kit bashing together a few mandrakes. I don't know how much I'm going to use them. They seem like they have amazing potential. I clearly don't have the models for the mandrakes, and being that the Codex dropped, it's not going to be easy to get them. So I've a lot of green stuff draped around, making robes and hoods so you don't see their faces, because they don't really match. That's okay. I think they'll be fun. They're going to be nice enough when they're painted to be able to play around with, get a feel for how they would go on the tabletop. So there's that. Now, I also got the card pack, and I want to chat about a couple of these. Prey on the Weak, I think, if I can remember to use it, will be so much fun, especially when you get units that are down and weak. It's 1 command point, and I can use it on a core unit, either for shooting or fighting, which means I could use it, as far as I understand, on a squad of Wyches, because they're a core unit. And then they're going to be, if you're attacking something that's half strength, when this unit was selected to shoot or fight, you can reroll the hit roll. So cool. No need for anybody special to be around. It's just going to be great. If it's not at half strength, you reroll hit rolls of 1. So it's still got some potential for it, right? Pretty slick. Torturer's Craft, moving over. 1 to 2 command points. I'm sure you've heard it mentioned. This used to be 2 command points to make a Coven unit and reroll all wounds. Now it's 1 command point if it's used on a character, or if you're using it for a squad of racks that are 10 models or less. So your Homoxites, all of a sudden are re-rolling all their wounds. If you use it on anything else, it costs 2 command points, but oh my word. So if you're looking for fishing for 6s, so you get the extra AP because they're blade artists with Homoxites, I think it's got some legs, and I think it's going to be something that you'll see from time to time. And again, my Homoxites, I don't plan on having them out front, but middle end of the game, they're going to be useful, and it's going to be really awesome. Cruel Deception, a lot of people have been talking about this one. Nothing extra really to say. If you haven't seen it, I guess I'll point this out. It's either 1 or 2 command points. It's just 1 command point to fall back and then charge. Amazing. It's 2 command points if you want to fall back and shoot and then charge. I think the things I'm going to use that on aren't going to really care a whole lot about falling back and shooting and charging. Just saying. They're just going to want to fall back and charge. This does remind me with the whole witch cults. I like all three of them a bit. I think Cult of Strife is going to be the best. With the fight first when in engagement range, I think is super strong. I think the Obsidian Rose is going to be so much fun with the extra strength. I'm going to run, like I mentioned earlier, my first big game, I think, is going to be just full on big witch squad of Strife and a big witch squad of Obsidian Rose, a bunch of things to help out. So we'll see. Maybe it works as well as I hope it will. Maybe it doesn't. That brings us to Tolerated Ambition. So you still have Alliance of Agony, but it's different now that it works in the Real Space Raiders detachment, the special detachment, where you get to give your Archons your Warlord, and then you get to give a Homunculus and Succubus Warlord traits. Tolerated Ambition will work for your other types of detachments. So if I'm running the 2 patrols of Strife and Obsidian Rose, I can use one of them, I make my Warlord, one of them I pay a command point and add another Warlord trait to the other patrol. So it's cool. It's great. You can use it twice if you're using a 2,000 point mission. You can use it once if it's a 500 point, or less than 2,000. And you can use it 3 times if you're playing the onslaught size. So I think it's pretty awesome. It's a good way to give some flexibility. And it does say you select one Warlord character. Warlord trait, you can't stack your Warlord traits, but it doesn't say it has to be one Homunculus and one Succubus anymore. You just have to pick one, and it does not have to have the Warlord being an Archon for this to work. So works for Witch Cult, works for Covens if you're going to go heavy into Covens. I think it's a pretty cool upgrade. Now here's one that I would like to mess around with a bit. Swift Outflanking. 1 command point. If you have a transport within 9 inches of the battlefield edge wholly within, remove it from the battlefield and the unit is placed into strategic reserve. Use that with Murderous Descent. Again, here's one that if you haven't seen it, it's 1 command point. When a transport comes down in the reinforcement step, set up and disembark units that are embarked 9 inches away from other models. From enemy models, So you can still do this, and then you can still make a charge if you're in, turn 2, or if you have one of those with extra advance and charge abilities, then it is gonna be a hoot. And then last but not least, the Deadly Rivals. And of course there are more stratagems than this, but Deadly Rivals is the one where if your Reavers and your Hellions are within 12 inches of each other, you get to add one to their move characteristic, and each time a model in the unit makes an attack with melee weapons, you reroll the hit roll. So that's pretty sassy. And that one is also, that one's actually 2 command points. So one of the few that seems to be 2 command points. So that's my take on things. I'm looking forward to trying out a big Poison Tongue with a Cult of Strife. That's a second list that I want to play around with. And that'll be it. Those are my first 2 lists that I'm really building into and really trying to collect the characters and units and make sure I have everything I need for it. I think it'll be a blast. You will hopefully be seeing these battle reports in the near future. But I had some people, Swangaming, looking at you, asking me to be able to give some feedback on this. These are my thoughts, and some of my thoughts are a little different from the mainstream on the internet. So I hope you find it interesting. Please, in the comments, let me know if I've missed something in rules, if I misspoke on something, or if I'm just plain nuts. You can tell me that too. I don't mind. So there you go. This is me, Kitchen Table Wargamer, coming at you live from my kitchen table, where I'm not wargaming today, but hopefully I will be soon. Catch y'all later.